Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our Texas State Park panel discussion for celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month and talking about careers at Texas Parks and Wildlife. My name is Kimberly Sorenson. I'm the Diversity Engagement Coordinator for State Parks, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to our moderator today, our awesome Superintendent, Goose Island State Park. We have Mr. Edwin on board to take you through this journey. I will be in the background and will answer questions as we go. Some of the questions, if you write them in the Q&A box, we will answer live. So just if you have something that you want addressed or something you want to know today, please let us know, and I'd be happy to answer those questions as we move forward. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Edwin to get us started.
Thanks, Kim. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. And we want to really open up this to the rest of the panelists. They can go ahead and join us, and we will get this discussion started. So we're really celebrating the National Hispanic Heritage Month. So we want to open it up and let everybody else join. If y'all want to turn on your cameras, we're going to get started and basically just have a discussion about how we celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month. Typically it's been celebrated since 1968. It starts on September 15th. And it ends on October 15th, which is today, so perfect timing. Typically, this was developed and commemorated to, understand the anniversaries of Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Mexico, Chile, or Belize, respectively. So really, Texas is rooted in our Hispanic heritage, and our employees bring that to their culture to work every day. There's no doubt about that. And so I really, when I started thinking about these, I thought about how great it would be to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month by celebrating and honoring the contributions of our Hispanic employees, how they they contribute to we have our Latinas and Latinos working in state parks and outdoors, and how do we really have those conversations and furthermore engage that next generation of stewards that will be keeping our wild things and wild places wild. So, with that being said, I really want to open it up to the panelists, and just simply, join us and let us know who you are, what you do, and how did you get to your current position. So, let's start with Javier.
Oh, hi, everyone. So my name is Javier Leon. I'm the Park Superintendent at Estero, Llano, Grande State Park in the Rio Grande Valley. As Park Superintendent, I'm like the park manager for the park. And how did I get to where I'm at? I've always had an interest in the outdoors, and I at some point when I was in high school, I was either going to work for the railroad, which I really like, and that's like a bucket list thing to do, or I wanted to be outdoors somehow. So, and I didn't remember, I found it about 20 years later, but I saw a career thing, and it said, what do you want to do? It said park ranger, and I don't even remember writing that down. But yeah, it's been, my journey to where I'm at started with volunteering. I volunteered at a National Wildlife Refuge and then a state park, and I really like state parks, and kind of worked my college classes and kind of started to get a job at within nature centers, and eventually got hired at Benson and Benson State Park, and now I'm at Estero. So it's been an interesting
Awesome.
journey.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, everybody has a little unique little stories on how we got on this. Diana, would you like to share your perspective?
Hola, hi everyone. I'm Grande. I'm the park interpreter at Wyler area Tramway in El Paso. I've been with the agency a little over 6 years. How I started, like Javier, I always knew, that I wanted to be outside, that I wanted to work outside. I knew an office wasn't for me. I grew up camping and hiking, so I knew that's what I wanted. So through college, and then my jobs after college, I kind of made my way into some kind of like outdoor jobs. I was working for the urban biologist here in El Paso for a couple of years. I was her intern, and then the position at the Tramway became available, and she kind of pushed me a little to apply, and I applied, and here I am 6 years later.
Awesome. That's really cool to know. Immanuel, would you like to share your perspective and how you got to the current position you're in?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Immanuel Salas, and I'm the community archery specialist for North Texas. How did I get here? I drove my truck. No, sorry. I have a history of bad jokes, so I apologize. When I was young, Mom was taking us to the woods and camping us as much as possible. She's responsible for me being an outdoors person. I really thought park rangers grew on trees at the parks. I thought they lived there. I had no idea that was a career path or an opportunity until it was much later in life, and I rediscovered it. So I went back to school looking for a recreation and administration degree. While doing that, got to work with Texas Outdoor Family, was volunteering as angler ed instructor, came on board with Texas Outdoor Family, followed my pursuits over into archery, and that got me to my current position here. So I'm just glad to be here with you guys today.
Cool. That's pretty cool. A lot of folks tend to wear different hats when we work in the state park system, and I think you're an excellent example, of what we do and how much diversity we have out here. Jasmine, would you like to share your perspective? And let everybody else, all the panelists and the audience watching.
Sure. My name is Jasmine Rodriguez, and I'm at Cedar Hill State Park. I actually started a little bit differently. I didn't have much of an interest in the outdoors most of my life. I didn't spend a lot of time out there. I actually found out about state parks through a class I took in college, an outdoor education course. And the professor takes students camping. And so that's how I found out about state parks. And that's how I started visiting. And I became a state parks ambassador in 2018. So I started as a volunteer. I did a lot of volunteering with them, with TOF as well, angler education. So that's how I started. And then I applied about 6 months after my ambassadorship. And then I'm in the office now. So I do a lot of the administrative work inside.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasmine. Megan, would you like to share your background and perspective?
Hi, my name is Megan Griege. I am actually from a very different environment than the one in the background. I'm from the Corpus Christi area. So I grew up in the beach, and I actually didn't do a lot of hiking and camping like the rest of Texas kind of does until later on in my life in college. And during some service trips that we did with, these were national parks and preserves, one of the group members mentioned this state park ambassador program. And it kind of stuck in the back of my mind for a few years. And then during college, I decided to try it out. And I had a really great time with the training, with the people, and with Lake Corpus Christi State Park, one of my local parks. And then the next summer, I was like, well, I think I want to do a little more with state parks. I had a really great time. So I decided to get out of my comfort zone and go all the way to the Panhandle and be an intern for Caprock Canyon State Park. So that's kind of where I've gone to now.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. That's really great. We have two folks that, have gone through that ambassador program, really great program. TJ, would you like to share your perspective and background, how you got to your current position?
Yeah, most definitely. My name's Hinojosa. My nickname is TJ. It's just a little bit easier to pronounce. I'm the assistant superintendent at Goose State Park, and a little bit of my journey is I've always known about Texas parks and wildlife from a very young age, and growing up, I just never really knew how to get there. And after I graduated college, I pretty much started volunteering with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and then I started trying to gaining more of experience, more than necessary experience, learning what I needed to do to be a part of Texas Parks and Wildlife. Eventually, I found myself here at Goose Island State Park, my very first state park. Started off as a maintenance specialist, working, mowing, weed eating, fixing things around the park, and then got a promotion as a backup utility plant operator. And had enough experience managing small teams and growing my experience with park operations that I found myself as an assistant superintendent. So yeah, that's a little bit of my journey. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you, TJ. And then we have our final panelist, Randy. Would you like to share your background and where you came from and your current position?
Thank you, Edwin. Yes, thank you. For me, I didn't come from a background of the outdoors, but thankfully my father introduced me to the outdoors when he took me to a trip over to Glacier National Park up in Montana. And at that point, I knew I wanted to be outside. I didn't know what that meant, though, until much later in life. And so I got my degree in a field that I thought would lead me to the outdoors. I degreed in wildlife management and wildlife biology, but I still didn't know what that meant. I just kind of fell into state parks. I was looking for jobs as a biologist, but there weren't many at the time. And then I saw an ad in the newspaper that they were looking for a manager trainee position at Guadalupe River State Park, and applied. Was fortunate to get interviewed and get the job. And 20 years later, I am now regional director for the Southeast region of Texas after working at 8 different parks in my career.
Awesome. Thanks, Randy. I guess I just want to introduce myself. I am Edwin Quintero. I'm the park superintendent here at Goose Island State Park, and I can definitely relate to a lot of y'all at the panelists. As a first generation Mexican American, growing up in the family ranch, I was always the oddball with my primas and primos cousins, because I was very intrigued by critters and the outdoors and really spending time out there. And to them was a little bit different. They spend all that time out there. And so they just thought it was odd that I really enjoyed that. But as I grew older, my path took me down to I ended up going to college, and that's where it really kind of springed my interest in the outdoors. I eventually, graduated from college. I have a background in biology, and it has served me well in the past. Basically, I've had different filled in different capacities, working in some of the biological sciences assignments or jobs, but that really piqued my interest as how I could give back, And so starting my career with Texas Parks and Wildlife, just as a lot of people out there with the department, I started my career as a maintenance ranger 1, as we all do, we wear so many hats while we fill in as a position as a park ranger, and eventually I became into a superintendent. I loved every step of the way, and basically the rest is history. And so I think the neat part about working for state parks is it's so unique. It's always changes. It's not always the same thing, one day after the other. And so that really leads to the next question. What barriers, if any, have you all faced getting into your current position? Whether it be family discouraging you, a lack of job opportunities, a lack of experience or education, and if any applied, how did you overcome those barriers? So, Randy, would you mind sharing some of your perspective on that end?
Sure, thanks, Edwin. So I guess you could say that the barriers for me really started from when I was a child. A little bit of background. My family, my parents came over from Mexico. I was their first U.S.-born child, and they settled in the border town of Del Rio, which is on the Texas-Mexico border. So for many families of that community, it was all about just trying to make it, trying to survive in this new country. But for the children of being first born in the U.S., the expectation and the hope was greater. The hope was that they would make something of themselves. But what that meant was making it as a doctor or a lawyer or something a little bit more prestigious than that. Even early grade school, when teachers talk to you about careers, they mention things such as firefighters and policemen and doctors. Park ranger or biologist was never an option. I didn't know what that was. So from early on, I didn't know that was a possible pathway. I remember going to my high school counselor because I took an interest in environmental science class. And I was discouraged from taking that class because the thinking was, well, that's for people who grew up on ranches or farms. It's not a lucrative career. You might want to consider something else. Fortunately for me, the call to be outdoors was greater than that. And even going through college, no one looked like me in my program. Everybody else looked very different. They spoke differently. So it always felt like I needed to fit in or work harder to make myself recognized. Even getting into the department and the career, whether it was real or my own perspective, I always felt like I needed to work harder at fitting in and making myself known. So oftentimes that meant making hard decisions. If you want to proceed or excel in this career, sometimes it involves moving away from family, which can be a shock to all of us. But sometimes if that is your goal, then that is the tough decisions you have to make. And fortunately for me, the drive that my parents instilled in me was greater than the environment around me. So I was able to make it to the position I am now.
Awesome, Randy. Thank you for sharing that with us. Immanuel, do you have, would you mind sharing some of that perspective?
Yes, sir. You bet. We hear those stories a lot, these perceived barriers and everything. And I just think about how people respond like Randy did. They step up to that challenge. It's very easy to shy away from that and to see all that and be intimidated by it and to instead turn into that and engage it. One, it just shows the character that Randy and people like him have. And then it serves as motivation and inspiration for everyone else that's around them to follow in that path. So that's just great to hear. To me, I think when I think about these barriers, kind of almost like a counter barrier is how people are becoming increasingly aware that organizations, programs are valuing and requiring diversity within. And some people look at that maybe with a little sideways, and they think, well, why is a spot being dedicated to this person or that person? Or why are they trying to, hit certain numbers within a demographic? Unfortunately, that's a reality. Many people have been, underserved and underrepresented for a very long time. I'm very proud to work for an organization that values that diversity that we bring and makes a space for us. But what I would encourage anybody that's watching this webinar and can learn from this to do is, you see that as an opportunity. Yeah, that's an opening in that door. That's a foot in the door for you. But we're going to ask you to kick that door wide open. You might come in because of an outreach program or a recruiter at your campus or at your company or something like that. That's going to begin the conversation, but we need you to put the exclamation mark at the end of that conversation. Nothing's given out in this department. You guys can come in, do a great job with TPWD. Just really represent yourself, your values, your culture, do it for all of us because that's what you're doing there. So I think that's it's really exciting to hear about the paths that fellows like Randy and the gals like the rest of you guys have gone through. At the same time, there's a little bit of a tie-in with the culture, going into new cultures. For a lot of people, TPWD has a certain outward appearance. So sometimes we feel like, hey, I don't feel like I'm represented in the images I see or in the media. Realize you are welcome here. You are wanted here. Everyone that works within this organization has a love for natural and cultural resources, and it's fantastic. We keep each other motivated and focused on that. So know that if you're motivated by those things, you do have a home and a team here. So that's exciting. But also once you join the department and you go out into the community, you work with these different groups, these different audiences, they're not going to be the culture you're from, and that's okay. Don't be intimidated by that either. When you think about your intent, what you're trying to do, connect them with these cultural and natural resources of the state, and your message is pure and sincere, they pick up on that. So you may not speak the language, you may not look the same, but you're trying to connect them with something that honestly is theirs and they deserve to be connected with, and they'll respond to that positively. So don't let that intimidate you or shy away from engaging with people either.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Immanuel. Yeah, we all seem to kind of hear this a lot. We share those very similar characteristics or views as to some of these barriers that we all somehow can relate to. Javier, do you have something that you want to share your views or aspects about barriers?
I think when I was listening to Randy, I think it was a lot of similarities with kind of my experience. My family are from Monterrey, and it's a larger city and very urban. So to spend time in the outdoors was something that sophisticated urbanites don't really do. So when I wanted to work in the outdoors, that was kind of odd, or it wasn't, the job that they envisioned for me, I guess. And it, a lot of what Randy and Immanuel said, I agree with a lot. But one of the barriers for me was just the concept of volunteer service, because I knew that I wanted to try working at a park to see if it was something for me, something that I enjoyed. So just the concept of what do you mean you're going to work for free? What is that? That's an alien concept. So, but I kind of always did my own thing anyway, and I went out there and I got to volunteer. I know what picking up trash for 8 hours feels like in the hot summer sun. But I also got to meet a lot of folks, and eventually some of those folks that I met volunteering ended up being on the interview panel and made the decision to hire me. So that was an alien concept, just volunteering, and it's so important as a pathway to get in. So to get into Parks and Wildlife. And I will say, what Immanuel was talking about, I really agree. Once when you're volunteering, when you're working, I think the opportunities are there if you work hard and you treat people right and with respect and hard work, and it'll take you pretty far within the department. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Javier. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. We can all relate to this in one way or another. Randy hit it right there. Javier, I had the similar experiences growing up. My parents had, they worked outside, manual hard labor sometimes, at the family ranch, and so they did whatever they could to provide for us to be able to have a good education. And when I first said, hey, you know what, I'm really interested in doing this and being a biologist or a park ranger, it was kind of foreign. It was very taboo. They'd still think, well, why? We spent all this time for you to go and be a doctor or be a lawyer, but really this is a calling, and you have to be here because you like to be here. It's something that we really have a passion to do this, and so no doubt about it. I'm sure everybody can relate to that. I guess the next question that I do want to ask a few panelists is, I'm sure all the Dianas of Cedar Hill or surrounding areas, or all the Megans of Corpus Christi, the little ones that are growing up, and those are our next generations that are going to be fostering and taking care of our wild places. I'm sure you guys get asked a lot of this common question, do you have any advice for someone wanting to work for state parks? So TJ, do you have anything to share about that?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question. Growing up, I had no idea about how I needed to get my foot in the door with Texas Parks and Wildlife. I knew I wanted to be a part, I just didn't know how. And one thing in Javier and Immanuel, they both said it, volunteering to gain the necessary knowledge about park operations or just operations with Texas Parks and Wildlife is very important. That's one of the first things. It's the most fulfilling. It helps your state park or your fisheries or wildlife management area, and it gives perspective. It gives also the people that are watching you, that are managing you, gives them some insight about what type of work ethic you have. The second part is, I think, asking questions. I never asked questions. I always assumed the answer was out there, but I never took the time to ask the questions. So once I started volunteering, I started asking very particular questions like, well, how would one, gain a position with Texas Parks and Wildlife? How would one gain the necessary experience to be a park manager? And more often than not, there's going to be a mentor out there that you can look into or for, and they're going to be willing to give you some of the knowledge about how park operation works. They'll probably even be willing to, set you loose on a project. So really seizing those opportunities and looking for them when possible, but asking questions, and it doesn't even have to be the right questions. It just has to show that you're interested. So yeah, that's pretty much my experience about trying to get in with Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Awesome, thank you, TJ. Jasmine, do you have any insight? I'm sure you get this question asked a lot at Cedar Hill.
Yeah, like TJ said, I came in as a volunteer. So I kind of understand the process. For me, volunteering was vital. It made a huge difference in when I decided I wanted to be an employee. But apart from volunteering, the agency offers a lot of different trainings that the public can take, like angler education. And a lot of people don't know about that. So, I really suggest going on the website and looking to see what the agency offers you as a general public member. There's so much stuff out there for people that they just don't know about. And I definitely agree about taking on a mentor. There are a lot of contacts online. Reach out to somebody in the wildlife division, reach out to somebody in the communications division. So many people are willing to talk to you. Even as an employee, I still reach out to people all the time through email, asking them, how do I get here? How do I move there? So don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't sell yourself short. Even if you don't have an environmental science degree or a biology degree, you have something about you that this agency needs. Your path might not be the same one everyone else's is, but you have something to offer that no one else can. And so don't sell yourself short when you're trying to apply to get in.
Absolutely. I think both you and TJ hit a really good point there. It's working for Texas Parks and Wildlife and state parks is very, very broad and diverse, that we have so many different walks of life and backgrounds that, yeah, you're right. You don't necessarily have to have a biology degree. Every single person contributes to the overall goal. And I know both you and Megan, have that really interesting background as to how you guys came to your current positions. Megan, I'm just gonna extend that over to you. Can you share with everybody how you came to volunteer and become an intern and an ambassador?
Sure. So I got really passionate about the environment early on. So by the time I was in 8th grade, I was volunteering at the local aquarium. And yeah, part of that was wiping tables and picking up trash. But that opened up further opportunities, because I did such a good job, and, the managers liked me, when they had tasks that were harder and more important, like taking care of animals. they felt confident assigning me to that, and that opened other doors. And that's really, I think, the special thing about volunteering is if you work really hard at it, and if you take initiative as well, you try to learn more, you try to be creative and share your own ideas and see how you can contribute. A lot of parks is about your passion for the environment and the qualities you have, not necessarily if you took chemistry in college or what degree you have. It's a lot, I think, about passion for the environment and your character and qualities, and if you're going to be able to kind of spread that land ethic and passion for conservation with others. But I definitely would like to throw out the State Park Ambassador program as well. It really was not a hard commitment. I had classes, I had another job that summer, and I was still able to manage it. It was a really great learning experience, networking experience, and that was kind of my foot in the door with parks and into the parks community. And then, yeah, next summer, I was like, this was a lot of fun. And so I applied for an internship. And I guess the other advice I would give to college students like myself is to be persistent. The environmental jobs are awesome, but they can be very competitive sometimes. And through things like volunteering, through reaching out, through getting other experience or volunteering or taking your own initiative and working hard at it, you can get into parks. But if you get rejected from that first job or first inquiry, I think it's definitely important we tell people, you know, be persistent. Sometimes it's at that particular time or for that position, it can be really hard. There's so many qualified people.
Awesome, Megan. Thank you so much. That, you know, that really speaks volume as to how much, you know, we're passionate about what we do and how we do that to serve our folks that are going to be our next generation of stewards. Randy, I guess I'll also, you know, ask to see if you can share some insight as a region director. You know, if you have these individuals going out to an outreach event, you know, how would you give any advice to, you know, people wanting to join state parks?
So I get this question a lot. And I'm going to share with you what I tell everybody, regardless of the career path that you're taking, whether it's with the environment or not, your education is important to get you to apply for these jobs, but it is your job experience that gets you hired. So for everybody, including starting down into high school, take advantage of your summers, work the summers, volunteer like many of our colleagues have done. In college, take internships. Well, our agency offers multiple internships with state parks and wildlife divisions and fisheries. So take advantage of those internships. The goal is, by the time you apply for your first permanent job, you will have a list of experiences that they have to consider. You want them to be able to talk about you as a candidate. That is your goal. Let them, the education will allow you to apply, your experiences will get you hired.
Awesome, Randy. Thank you so much. And you're right. I think this all kind of culminates and also helps to answer some of the previous question. You know, growing up in high school, some of the counselors wouldn't tell you this. And so it's great for us to be able to let people know, hey, volunteer as much as you can. I think everybody can relate to that in one way or another. We all started either volunteering at different areas. I remember meeting Javier one time as he worked at one of the nature centers down there. And so that is how, you know, we really get invested and interested in what we do. So I appreciate you all answering that question for us. I guess, you know, one of the other questions that I had is, you know, what is really, what is the importance of having diversity in the workplace? Randy, can you share that insight and input on your end?
Sure. Our population is changing. It's growing. It's looking differently than in the past. It's all about being relevant to that population. I'll share a story with you that happened just today. One of our park rangers or interpreters down at Rosales Bend had a virtual program for a group of 4-year-old school kids up in Killeen. Now, these kids were made up of students from Cuba, from Puerto Rico, from Honduras, from Mexico, as well as English-speaking kids. And she was able to give that program in English and Spanish. Now, to the kids, it didn't make a difference. All they recognized is somebody that looked like them just talked to them about the alligators at that park. And so the conversation starts early. It has to start early. That for them to be able to see these things, these people in these career fields. The reason behind all that is because they are going to become our stewards in the future. They are the people that when bills like Proposition 5 that help fund us for the future, when that comes across in the future, they're the ones that are going to be voting. But they first have to be able to know about these resources and these jobs. They have to understand it, which ultimately will lead them to care.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you on that end. I think our main soldiers and people that are going to be advocating for the wild places that we currently protect and look after are going to be that next generation. Diana, do you have would you like to share your perspective on that end from as a park interpreter?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree with Randy. Our population's changing, our park visitors are changing, our trends are changing. We have more of a diversity in who's visiting the parks, who's coming to our programs. So we as employees and as an agency, we have to reflect that. Not only, physically, not only represent, the different, how people look, but also the way of thinking, the perspectives that different cultures have. So if we have diversity in our agency, we're able to see all those different points of views, all those different cultures, and we're able to offer programs that are going to be appealing with all the different communities that we have in Texas.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Diana. I guess, Megan, you really have a really good perspective of this because you've started working or started volunteering and you can see both sides of, the college kid trying to really gain that opportunity and access to be able to work in conservation. So is there anything that you would like to share with us?
Actually, I think what comes to mind for me is, so I grew up in what I consider a really diverse city, and I grew up as an urbanite. And then this summer, I packed my car and drove 8.5 hours to a very rural, very less populated, and even demographically different part of Texas. And it's to do that, and I think back to people who made, the first steps in a very different time. It takes a lot of bravery and courage and willingness to be open and adapt. But I will say that state parks took really good care of me. I was thinking about my first weeks. They're like, oh no, that city girl with her city girl, issues, not used to the country. But no, everyone was super kind to me, and I think we both, me as an intern and the park, benefited from having me as an outside person come in. I was able to give a different perspective on the landscape they had been looking at for decades, and point out things that maybe visitors who are new to the area wouldn't understand, or a different perspective they might have. And I also gained a new understanding of kind of a different way of life out there in the Panhandle as well, and really learn so much by just getting out of my comfort zone. But definitely that exchange of perspectives by introducing diversity or bringing in different perspectives, I think is just really important for us to do a better job with interpretation. Even at our park, there's a lot with safety and hiking. And I think that it just is really important for that, and unity too.
Absolutely. I think you guys hit it right on, right on point there. There's definitely, great things in terms of being or having different perspectives and characteristics and backgrounds that definitely are essential or a good thing for the overall mission that we're trying to accomplish. And so everybody has its own unique little characteristics and backgrounds that, piece together this big puzzle that is our mission. And we're really here to protect the natural resources and promote that and foster and engage the next generation to help us protect that. I guess we have a little bit of time. Kim, do we have any questions from our audience that are watching us?
Yeah, we do actually. One question was about the use of being bilingual and how often you speak Spanish in your parks. And for those employees that aren't bilingual, do we offer training or use translating devices, things like that? So just talking a little bit about dual language in the parks.
Absolutely. Is there anybody that would like to respond to that?
Edwin, I can go ahead and answer that. So I'm actually in the middle of DFW. We're an extremely diverse area. We have a lot of languages, a lot of visitors that come through the park. We speak Spanish every day. We speak Spanish every day. Our employees that don't speak Spanish have the translation apps on their phones. We talk to each other about phrases that they can use. We also make sure that our social media is in dual language. So our captions are on English and Spanish because we interact and answer questions for them online as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasmine. Anybody else that would like to respond to that? I'll share a little bit. So I absolutely speak Spanish when I have a chance. Really, I just find great value over it because not only are you engaging those individuals that are normal visitation, but we're also engaging the folks that typically, I like to say the little Edwins and the little, Immanuels, they come to the park and they're very inquisitive and they like the things about, what we have at the park and the resources. And so really some of the joys that I have and that I take away on my normal day-to-day routine is, talking to those individuals. And if it's those little kids that, I'm talking to them in Spanish and we're making a connection to the resource, it's a lot better because we're able to connect with those folks as well. And so I absolutely speak Spanish anytime I have a chance. And so, it's just something very helpful. Randy, do you have something or?
Yeah, so I also wanted to add that for those that don't speak in the additional language but want to, we do offer programs such as Duolingo, which is an app that we do share. But more importantly, we do have a tuition reimbursement program. And so for those employees who need or wish to add a language to their to the repertoire and to meet the customer needs, they can take either an online or an in-person language course that could be reimbursable by the agency. So that is something also that's available as a resource.
Great. Thank you, Randy. Kim, do we have any other questions that are coming in?
We do. And I know we don't have a law enforcement officer on this particular call. We did on the 10 a.m. call, but someone's asking about law enforcement, what it means to be commissioned as a law enforcement officer, why we have to be commissioned. So I don't know if anybody can speak to that. I know it's part of the training process, but you have to be commissioned before getting hired on. Randy, do you have anything?
Randy, would you, do you have anything that you might be able to explain?
Sure. So there's a couple of routes of law enforcement careers that a person can take. We have what our law enforcement divisions, which is primarily made up of our game wardens. And then within our own state parks division, we have park police. The training is very similar. We recommend or we require that all candidates, whether you're applying for it as a game warden or as a state park police, they will both go through the very same academy, the Game Warden Academy. And so when they come out, based on which selection or career route they had chosen, they will get certified through the agency.
Yeah, excellent. And we do have a lot of state park police officers that live in the park, or they occupy different areas in the park. And so on a good given day, they might be traveling from one park to another, just because their area that they're supposed to kind of be supervising or looking after, it might be several different parks. So that's a great example. And if I would recommend, if we do have those individuals that are wanting to get a little bit more information about that, like Kim mentioned, we do have a panelist on our earlier segment that she is a state park police officer, and she's also in a management position. So I'm sure we can definitely get that information out to anybody that has that question as well. Kim, do we have any other questions that might be coming in as well?
Yeah, she gave a follow-up question about commission versus non-commission. I think it has to do with the training and certification, right, for the officers. So there are some peace officer positions where you may not have to be commissioned before you come on board, but you'll have to most likely have to be as you go. Thank you for helping out with that. And yes, we can get more information out to you and make sure. And I'll give this individual my email address so we can follow up. So I want to throw one question out there that came from the earlier panel. It's a great time to work for state parks. We have a lot of exciting things coming up in the future, and the fact that we are about to hit our centennial and 100 years old. So I want to know from the panelists, why state parks? Why do you want to work for and keep working in state park systems, and what are you looking forward to within working in the agency? So we'll throw that out to anyone who wants to answer.
I can answer. I can chime in on that one. So I'm in the Rio Grande Valley, and it's a very biologically diverse place. And we get a lot of eco-tourists from all over the country and beyond visiting this area. And all these tourists, I think it's $400 million that's contributed by tourists a year to the area. And we have very little habitat in the valley for these animals. So, why do I like working for state parks, and, why am I excited for the future? I think we do a lot of education. We reach a lot of students, a lot of adults through our programming, and we really shed light on how special Texas is and how special the Rio Grande Valley is. So I think, that's something that recharges my batteries all the time. Something that I get excited about is, if there's a family that's here taking quinceañera pictures, and, you have the quinceañera in her huge dress, and little brother and little sister are right next door or right next to them, I'll say hello and I'll talk to them for a little bit. And, I might show the family a millipede, and they get super excited about it. And, they came to take pictures, and now all of a sudden they're very excited about being outside, being in nature. And that might be like the spark moment for them. And we've seen some people that, they came for wedding pictures, and now they're regular visitors. So what makes me excited, I think, just continuing to do some really good work in educating the folks about how unique their place is. And that translates all over the state. I think, up in Cedar Hill, that's a beautiful area, and I'm sure a lot of folks appreciate the nature up there as well. So I think it's a very important work, and that's something that I look forward to coming to work for that more than spreadsheets, but I always have to drop in the spreadsheets. Okay.
that is where we wear all these different type of hats. You know, there's sometimes that we really enjoy, you know, having those conversations outside, and that is the neat part about being a state park ranger, is that, you know, not every day is the same. It's always diverse and it's different. You know, one day, I know Megan might have been witness to this, you know, one day you might be helping visitors out in the trail because they need some assistance, you know, coming out. And, you know, there might be some times where Immanuel will be helping, you know, kiddos with archery equipment, and it's really unique. Does anybody else have anything else, you know, that they would like to reply to that? Megan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to harp a little more on the internship experience. I know this was answered a little bit, but it was a paid internship, and maybe it depends on the park, but I had free housing. I lived at the park all summer, and that was a really amazing experience to be so close to wildlife, to outdoor opportunities, 24/7, to beautiful dark night sky and bison. As an internship experience, I don't know if Texas state parks can be beat. I think a lot of the panelists can agree that, you know, if you love the outdoors, if you're passionate about wildlife, you're getting paid to have fun. I mean, maybe not with spreadsheets, but for most of the time, you're getting paid to drive around these gorgeous natural places and give tours. You're getting paid to go on hikes, to talk to kids, to talk to adults who just want to learn more about, for example, the bison, to go out, take photos. And yeah, as an internship experience too, you can definitely specialize. I did a little more in interpretation-wise with a really amazing interpreter named Leanne Pig. But I got to do a lot of other things too, kind of see what the park superintendent goes through with the management and restoration of the bison herd. I got to shadow the park police and see what he experiences on his nightly patrol. And of course, yeah, I got to go help people who are having difficulty hiking and do some rescues. And that turned into another opportunity where I made a trail safety video to hopefully help people out. So it was amazing. I definitely recommend it. Applications for summer internships usually open up around, I want to say March or April. I think mine was March. And there are internships, paid and unpaid, with almost every department: facilities, fisheries, wildlife, as well as state parks.
Awesome. I'm sure Donald and Leanne and Dawson would be proud. You definitely have a really neat picture in the background of Caprock. Jasmine, do you have? I saw you raise your hand. Do you have something that you would like to share with the rest of us?
Yeah, you know, I'm super excited about the place the agency is going to. I think it's at the forefront of diversity and inclusion, and a lot of people are seeing that. You know, we have so many programs that offer a diverse experience to our visitors, like Texas Outdoor Families. You know, as a volunteer with them, I was able to do camping trips with families who only spoke Spanish. That's exciting, especially for first-time families who never done that before. You know, as somebody, again, who didn't come from the outdoors, finding a place in my community that did that was huge. So knowing that the agency offers programs like this and they're getting bigger every year, that's exciting. And seeing them come to our parks and enjoying themselves for the first time and getting to be a part of that, it's huge.
Awesome. Thanks, Jasmine. Does anybody else have anything else they would like to share?
Hey, real quick, I was trying to answer a question about internships that was submitted. And I think for internships, if you've graduated within the last 6 months, you can still apply for a summer internship. That's correct, right?
I believe so, yep. Mm-hmm.
That's what I remember from last year. Sorry Sorry,
And
Mr. Director.
each internship will show what its requirements are. But if you have a bachelor's, you also can apply for regular jobs. So just looking at, and we talked about this on the first panel, you don't have to have a degree for all of our positions. So make sure that if you are looking to get involved with us, look at your job postings, really read what the qualifications are for each job posting, and make sure that you put a lot of detail in your application. So I don't know, they haven't asked about this, but I've had a lot of questions about internships and how to get involved with us. Can we talk a little bit more about how we get involved as a volunteer and some tips for applying?
Yeah, absolutely. Would anybody like to chime in on that? Go ahead, Immanuel.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, just because Jasmine started us off down that path, talking about certifications, that's a hugely valuable resource. If you're trying to find your way into the department, you can become certified as a hunter education instructor. As a volunteer, you can recoup your costs, etc., whatever. But you become really involved with those networks. You work with the TPWD staff and volunteer network that's there. I mean, you can be reaching out to your local game warden to have them come speak at your event. So you really gain access to a huge amount of resources. You have the same with angler education instructor. You get that certification and you can take a trip of a group of people out to a fisheries, a hatchery, something like that. Look for our free certifications, and some of the certifications that aren't free are still very, very cheap, and they're hugely valuable. The person that's teaching you likely has the logo on there, so you're already making that connection. You say, hey, thank you for that certification, can't wait to use it. What are you doing next week? And they say, actually, I have a spot, I need some hands. And there you go. So just really encourage you guys to follow up on the certifications. Looks great on a resume. Volunteering is awesome, we know that, but the certification is a document. It's a certification that says you did this thing, and at the end of your resume it says -TPWD at the end of it. So get a whole list of those going.
Yeah. Awesome.
Real quick, I wanted to jump in on that. I think you couldn't be more right, Immanuel. When I was volunteering with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, they gave me the opportunity to get ATV certified, get herbicide certified, chainsaw certified. So there was all these certifications that started coming with it. And once I started applying for other positions, those were the little gems that people looked for, because you're already going down that path. Especially the chainsaw certification. Not everybody is able to do that, but when you're working in a volunteer capacity or a paid internship capacity, that chainsaw certification really comes in handy. I think right now, currently as a volunteer, you wouldn't be able to do that, but interns, there's always an opportunity to do something like that when someone's interning. So those are very valuable tools to have at any capacity. Me, myself, as an assistant superintendent, I don't cut down trees as much, but during an emergency situation, that's always something that comes up, and it's pivotal to be in that position to help out whenever you can. So yeah, do the trainings.
And if I may, just to add to everybody else, so we do offer internships within our agency. Some are paid and some are not paid. Some are unpaid internships. And I encourage you to not shy away from those either, because they do give you the same experiences as if they were paid. So you're doing the same type of work. But even outside our agency, there's other organizations that offer these opportunities for you to gain that experience. As I mentioned earlier, your experiences is what's going to get you hired. Organizations like the Student Conservation Association and AmeriCorps, they offer both paid and unpaid or internships across the state as well as across the country. Don't be afraid to work in a new environment, to work in a different location, to get out of your own comfort zone. They will ultimately lead you to the path that you want to go.
I'm sorry. I think y'all really pointed out to some really good points there. And so, volunteering, just wanting to, get that foot in the door. like Immanuel mentioned, you know, those certifications out there are very easy to get, and not only are you just volunteering and getting certification, but you're also networking with individuals, which is very valuable. And so I think all of those were really great points, and I appreciate you all answering those. I guess we're going to move on to one of the other questions I have here is, you know, as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, how important is that to you? And I'd like to kind of open that up to Javier. Would you mind sharing your perspective on that? You're on mute, Javier.
Yeah. So I was how volunteering is important.
Yeah. Why is Hispanic Heritage Month important to you?
Oh, why? Oh, you know, I think we touched on it a little bit earlier. I think one, it's good to look at the. It's good for the parks to be welcoming places, and you know, something like this. I think sometimes people have a perception that certain places aren't for them, and you know, talking about how to make places more welcoming, talking about different languages, not just Spanish, but you know, when a park visitor comes up and they don't speak your language, you know, having the right attitude, like, hey, I want to help you, just be patient with me because I might not know Chinese, you know, or Spanish or whatever it is. So I think it's really just part of the end result is kind of looking at the diversity within the department, and also, you know, creating welcoming spaces, and kind of trying to get more folks within the department from different backgrounds that represent what the rest of the state looks like. So I think taking the moment to talk about this to some folks that might be interested in the working with the department that may not have thought it was possible is a really good step, and I'm really glad to help you out and be a part of this. So thanks.
Awesome, Javier. Thank you so much. And that really leads to my next question. You know, as a park superintendent, a father of you know 4 amazing kiddos at home, you know, we really try to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. You know, we make it our own, and we, you know, obviously Hispanic Heritage Month is from September 15th to October 15th. So we really commemorate this particular month. And so I want to, you know, open this question up to Megan. You know, how do you and, you know, your parents or you celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month?
I think for me, it's more of what I see in school and in the university. I think it's really important to have Heritage Month so that the people around me are learning, and I'm learning more about myself. I think our family is so spread apart and was so focused on, you know, becoming American that it's kind of like some of those traditions and things you're supposed to know, you don't really get as much. But I think that some of the efforts by state parks, by schools, universities, really help create a unified appreciation of Hispanic culture, which is such a big thing in this country, especially, and of course in our state. But one of the most powerful conversations I remember having actually during my internship is we did an intern exchange with 2 other nearby state parks, and we were talking with the Palo Duro Canyon State Park interpreter, and she kind of posed a question to us little interns about, like, how are we going to get more diversity in state parks? How are we going to make state parks more accessible? What are some of the barriers, and how could we potentially overcome them in the future to bring more people into state parks? And so I think just, you know, having that awareness and kind of having that designated time where we're going to talk about this, we're going to think about this is honestly such an important thing.
Yeah. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with you, Megan. I think definitely knowing and this kind of relates back to some of the other questions, but knowing where we come from, where we're going, and engaging that next generation, I couldn't agree more. Megan, I know we might be running, I'm sorry, Kimberly, I know we might be running a little bit out of time. Do we have any questions that you want us to answer?
I guess let's just throw it out there one more time. If there's any questions that we haven't addressed from the folks on the call, feel free to type it into the Q&A. And while we're doing that, I want to thank all the panelists for being here today, helping us celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, and talking a lot about the contributions that each one of you make at Texas State Parks and at Texas Parks and Wildlife for helping us conserve the natural and cultural resources. Huge thank you to Edwin for moderating today, and also being the brains behind this idea and helping make it happen. So thank you very much to Edwin for that. It looks like we may have had one question. Oh, not a question, but this one comes from our state park director, Mr. Rodney Franklin. He says he wants to say how proud he is of each of the panelists and everyone that helped put this together. I want to say a huge thank you to Christina Schlegel for her awesome artwork also. So thanks for sharing great information and your passion. That comes from Rodney. And a couple other thank yous. Tara Humphreys says, so honored to work with each of you. And Lisa, thank you so much for a wonderful panel. This was recorded. We will save the recording and hopefully be able to share the recording after the fact. And for those of you that aren't with the agency that are interested in getting involved with us, please take time to reach out to people at the parks near you. If you're looking at jobs, the hiring manager contact information is there. You can always call and ask questions and look through and read those job descriptions to see what we're looking for, what knowledge, skills, and abilities you need to be able to become part of the agency. We welcome everyone, and part of why we're doing this panelist is because our mission is to become a welcoming environment for all at Texas State Parks, and we are walking our walk and talking our talk. So thank you all for a great day, and we will log off now. So Edwin, thanks very much.
Thank you everybody for joining us.
Bye-bye. Bye everyone.
Bye.
The outdoors.